Alright, hello everyone, Lincoln here. Today we're going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to do traffic intersections in trains. Uh, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first step that you're going to want to do is putting in the traffic stoppers. Now you'll have to be careful of where you put them and how you raise them. Generally I raise them 2.4 meters off the ground. This is because that's the height that the invisible road splines need to be at, so that's the height so that the spline points on these stoppers that I'm using are at 0, excuse me. It's just mostly for the sake of ease of use. Alright, so when you set up the traffic controller, I always do you always do one for each path that the cars will take. In this case, there are 4 paths that the cars will take that are controlled by the light. And one of them, usually the one that's parallel to the tracks, will be told to go on traffic stop. Once you do that, you'll want to set up the traffic control slaves. Basically, all you have to do for them, you have one for each traffic control, so it's pretty easy to just quickly pop them all in and wire them to the traffic stoppers. Make sure when you do this, you do set them to the correct channel. This isn't an ATLS demo after all. Alright, so after that's done, you'll want to start on the invisible traffic lanes. Now, something of note with these is the right-hand lane is the only one that will actually have any cars. So when you are putting these down, as I am now, you want to make sure that it's the right-hand lane that's in the right place. It's less important where the left lane is, but from there, after you wire them to the traffic stoppers, I always do, since the way this setup works is it's got left turn and straight, I always do the straight going traffic first so I can use it to line up the left turning traffic, since the traffic splines aren't perfectly aligned with each other. Once all of the traffic lanes are in, you want to go ahead and add the city traffic spawners. And what I was doing there was making sure it was set to the correct one. In general, if you do this on a route, you'll want to do this somewhere that is not directly in the sight of the tracks, because the spawners not only visibly spawn the cars, but they also are not invisible in driver. After that, you'll want the next thing you'll probably want to add are the signals, but first I added the triggers. The triggers for ATLS and TRC are both set up like normal crossings, except for the control slaves. You'll go ahead and add the TRC number on them. Now, I should clarify, these aren't normal ATLS control slaves. They are the modified ones that I put up on the DLS a little while ago. So the next thing you'll do with this part is the signals themselves. I like to use these standalone traffic signals, and you'll have, with each one, you'll want to have at least one light in each direction for the traffic. So the turn lane and the straight lane in this case. each get their own control light. Once you've done that, if you're using the same ones that I use, you'll want to raise them up to have them look like they're actually on the traffic light stand, though if you are just using another asset that is on its own, you won't necessarily have to do this. The next thing we will add here are the TRC signals. These are not really as necessary for a crossing like this, but I went ahead and added them so you can see how it might be done. I always tend to jump over to the pre-built section just so I can get the right heights, but something of note to keep in mind when you do this is basically make sure everything looks to be in the correct position. You don't have to use so many lights as I'm using in this demonstration. I'm just using this many solely for the sake of demonstration. Now, once you have all the TRC lights in, you will go ahead and start adding the road markings. I usually start with the stop markings. Sometimes you'll have problems where you won't be able to snap things, so you'll just have to move the spline points in place. But I usually make sure I separate each one with I separate each stop marker into two splines just so it looks a little bit more believable, as usually there's a lane marker in between. After this, I go ahead and add in the crosswalk markings. I tried to line them up with the edges of the sidewalk so that the crosswalks would be more natural feeling. After that, I'll go ahead and add in the center lane marking. For this demo, I went ahead and just used the single yellow for the outsides of the tracks, but you might want to do something different for yours. And I usually run the center lane through to the crosswalk or to the stop lines. It doesn't really matter. Then you add in the white dashed line for the different lanes if you have more than two in each direction, or more than one in each direction. And the outer road marking because the road is wider than it needs to be, so it can have parking. And once you add in all of that, you can just go ahead and customize to your heart's content.